Oshaki Foster is in the midst of a pretty good title run, and this Friday, February 16th, will be no different when he takes on Abraham Nova and defends his WBC Super Featherweight title. This is going to be a competitive fight and an exciting one. Let's talk about it. On Friday, February 16th, live from the Madison Square Garden Arena, Oshaki Foster will defend his WBC Super Featherweight title against Abraham Nova. 12 rounds with two men in the midst of their primes competing for a world championship title. This is the type of matchup that boxing really needs. It's the type of fight that we yearn for all the time. It's just that many people don't watch all of the divisions in the sport. And sometimes when you miss out on something like the super featherweights, you don't give yourself the greatest chance for the entertainment that the sport has to offer. But this fight, I'm expecting to be very competitive, where you have, in the case of the current titleist, Oshaki Foster, who, as I mentioned earlier, is in the midst of a very good title run. His current record of 21-2 with 12 KOs shines bright as he is coming off of an October victory over Eduardo Hernandez, a fight that saw him fighting in that man's hometown of Mexico, and Foster had to pull out all of the stops to retain his title. It was actually a trap fight where it was set up for Eduardo to be victorious because the promoter had other plans. They were possibly looking to match him up with the likes of Joe Gordino or someone like that, but Oshaki stood up like a real champion and turned back that fierce challenge of Hernandez. And when you talk about Abraham Nova, who is on the comeback after suffering a June 22 KO defeat in 5 rounds to Robeisy Ramirez. His record currently 23-1 with 16 KOs. That fight against Ramirez saw him be vulnerable to the punching power of Robeisy that Abraham did not respect off the bat. Had he been a little bit more attentive to the power that Robeisy has, maybe he would not have succumbed to that type of stoppage. But nonetheless, he's come back with 2 victories, a January 2023 victory over Adam Lopez and a July 2023 KO victory over Jonathan Romero, setting him up for this opportunity. Foster is a boxer who has a great deal of tools. He stands 5'8.5" with a 72-inch reach. He's a battle-tested warrior. He's orthodox. He has a good snapping jab. He puts his punches together very well. Sometimes he will allow himself to get hit because he's not afraid of contact. He's a fierce competitor in there, and he looks to look good when he goes in. He reminds me a lot of the old school fighters like Poison Jr. Jones or Kennedy McKinney. Those men were cut of this mold that I see Oshaki fighting out of. Being a highly competitive fighter, I expect him also to draw the best out of Abraham Nova, a fighter whom I remarked that I love to see this guy when he comes to the ring. Prior to fights, his ring walk, he has his own mascot. And Nova, who's a grizzled warrior himself, He will take chances. He will gamble. His nickname, El Super, as he goes in there and tries to break his opponents down. He, like Foster, is 30 years of age, an orthodox fighter. He's 5'9", with a 72-inch reach, and looks to get in there and mix it up. He's not one of those fighters that is apprehensive. He doesn't mind contact, and he doesn't mind getting in there to mix it up to see who comes out ahead. That's why when he rolled the dice against Robeisy, he found his chin wasn't up to being able to take what Robeisy could lash out, being a power puncher. With O'Shaquie, his boxing is going to be the formula to build upon. He makes adjustments very well. That Hernandez fight showed me a great deal about that, because although he started that fight off boxing very well, his cornermen were able to relate to him that he may need to step it up. He may need to do something more, because they were in that fighter's hometown of Mexico, and a close fight would give them a chance to steal rounds because they were in that man's hometown. So he had to fight a different way. With those necessary adjustments, the fact that Hernandez had not fought late into a fight before, never going, I believe, over 7 rounds, he got tired. And that's when O'Shaquie came on. In the case of Abraham, he knows now that he doesn't have to take those unnecessary risks, but his confidence could be in question. Will he be able to make the necessary adjustments against O'Shaquie? Because understand this about fighters, they typically go into a fight with more than one game plan, but the correct ideology is to be able to adjust to an adjustment, and then after that to be able to make still a second adjustment, which will allow you to be in a more favorable position or to create some type of doubt for the opponent. I'm expecting both men to have these qualities, which makes this an exciting fight to look at. I am not going to pick a winner per se, but I'm looking at it as a great quality fight and matchup for early quarter of 2024. When you look at fighters like Abraham Nova and fighters like O'Shaquie Foster, they bring the best of what boxing has to offer. It's just a shame that they don't get the fanfare, the coverage that they should, like the old guys used to, because they bring the best out of the sport and out of one another when they compete at a high level. This is the kind of fight, like I said, if it were on HBO, former Boxing After Dark, it would be that type of fight that make you remember why you love boxing. As for O'Shaquie Foster, coming into this fight, this will be his his second title defense. He won the title against Ray Vargas, which was vacant in February of 2023. So it's kind of an anniversary of sorts for Foster. Will he be able to defend and retain? If he does, we can start considering him a reigning champion. I don't often like to call fighters champions until they have had a run. And as I've stated earlier, O'Shaquie is definitely in the midst of a run, and one that you can get behind and support, because he's an exciting fighter, he's an intelligent fighter, he's a skillful fighter. He check marks many of the boxes when you consider good fighters in the sport of boxing. But what do you think? This is Stormy B-Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what your thoughts are about this matchup, and do you see O'Shaquie Foster continuing his run with his WBC title? Peace to everyone out there, and everyone please remain safe.